and welcome to Lorena's Labyrinth. If you're a returning visitor, I really thank you for your ongoing support. If you're a newbie, I hope you like the content. I encourage you to like the video if you enjoy it. And of course, if you think you would like to watch future videos that are loaded here, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Before we go any further, I'd like to talk about the fact we're going to be talking today about the colour lilac. Lilac, of course, is one of the shades of purple, but this is part of the content that I deliver around metaphysical healing properties that can give a little bit of insight into the subconscious and how we can employ and use lilac, or any colour actually, to foster better health and living conditions for us. Now, of course, my experience is limited to my experience of colours. I've worked with colours for many years. And I also have worked in the mental health sector. So to some extent, I've seen what I consider to be evidence and proof of the messages of the colours. And I also, in my capacity as a psychic medium, I have used colour as part of uncovering the barriers for people, if you like, to put it that way. But of course, the reason why I say this is everybody's got their own experiences, and you may have different experiences to me or different thoughts, and I invite you and encourage you to pop your own thoughts up. So just to help grow the pool of knowledge. Now, without any further ado, I'm going to kick on into the actual discussion of colour. So as always, it's a little difficult sometimes to source the exact shades and hues of colours that I'm trying to get for people to have the discussion with, but I actually really like this image that I've got on this page because I think it's very reflective. It's not quite how I see the colour lilac, and you might see it a little bit differently, and this is where your comments are important. But either way, whether lilac is a somewhat darker shade than this, or I think if it was much lighter, actually, you'd be talking about a lilac tint. But however you see it and relate to it is obviously important. Now, from my perspective, if we're talking about lilac, it's a purple. And whenever we're talking about the purple, we're talking about the colour composition of the red and the blue. And with lilac itself, obviously, if you were to mix red and blue together, it's going to be a lot darker. It's the true purple, whereas lilac is a very soft and gentle colour. So it's got a lot more white to it. And this is what makes it as pale and gentle as it is. So from a chakra perspective, it certainly does carry properties that are healing or linked to the brow chakra, the throat chakra, and definitely the base chakra, but more so the crown chakra. And this is why potentially it carries these soothing qualities, the qualities of peace. Remembering, of course, that white is a purifier, and it's actually probably, well, it's up there. The sapphire blue and the white are considered to be the most powerful and strongest colours in the colour spectrum, and the white carries the properties of all the other colours anyway. But the colour lilac is definitely up there as being one of the most spiritual colours, shall we say. And if you give a little thought to the chakras that are associated with the colour, it makes sense to think of it as being spiritual and peaceful, because the crown chakra, of course, is the centre of our, well, I wouldn't say centre actually, see, that's kind of wrong. But at the same time, you know, everything's right, everything's wrong. There's a bit of this and a bit of that. Okay, so with the crown chakra, obviously when we're doing our connection to the divine, we're actually linking through the crown chakra as well. So it's a vital component there for our health and well-being anyway. But it also is about purification of the mind, clearing away any misconceptions and misunderstandings and that kind of thing. And of course, because it's got the elements of the blue, that is about communication and expression, and enhances relationships, whether that's with people with bodies or not. And what else? And with the brow, of course, that's about being able to see clearly, both internally and externally, and develop that insight and understanding that we all talk about, which enhances things like compassion. This is why we get that saying, instead of judging, seek understanding in all situations, refrain from judgment. So this is very much what happens when we're working with the lilac colour and the crown chakra. Of course, once you bring in the red, you're actually talking about personal willpower, and things like that. But we're going to be talking about the reds more so in the near future. So where we're going with this is that from a metaphysical perspective, the colour lilac is actually very, very empowering. It really enhances this level of awareness, not only of self, of the people around us, of the way the universe works. And that awareness, incidentally, can simply be the picture is much bigger than you or I consciously know. And there's no point sweating the small stuff. For some people, that's adequate awareness. And I've got to admit, to a large extent, I'm fine with that. I don't need to know the ins and outs of how it all works. But I do have that expanded awareness in that there is far more than I could even begin to imagine. And the universe will every now and again give me some new information that expands my understanding of the universe, if you like. So this is where this business of improving divine connection comes from. I think personally, the empowerment aspect, we could misinterpret that, because empower, or topics of power and victimhood and injustice and all of this stuff is judgments of right and wrong. And when we work with the colour lilac, we start to accept, because of our awareness and connection, that actually some of these things and experiences that we go through, because they're part of our divine plan, and we can actually tell once you get to a certain stage in your life and you're reflecting over it, and sometimes even during certain stages of your life, we can fall into that trap of feeling a victim to people and circumstances. But we start to see that bigger picture and understand actually these events needed to occur because they were about opportunities for growth and personal development as a soul, for either as us directly or for the people that we're interacting with, although those experiences were very challenging at times. And I can think of a few right now that I definitely have resisted. There's been different times in my life, even with my knowledge and understanding of certain facts. Since year 2000, I've been consciously working with my gifts. I'm sorry about you hearing my phone there. I'll just ignore it. What I will say is that even within that, there have been situations and events transpire where I have felt that it was incredibly unfair and unjust, and I've walked away from some situations feeling victimised. I'll put my hand up to that, knowing that. But when I take that time out to really reflect, and this is part of the healing process as well, I can now, with some of these scenarios, look back and go, you know what, it was incredibly uncomfortable, and resisting was probably what caused me the great grief. Because I can see now that if it's in a person's divine path, it's in their path. We can't change divine will. It's going to happen. We might not understand the reasons why, but we can see how that other person, I'm thinking of a specific scenario, of course, we can see how that other person who has victimized us, or where we have felt victimized, is actually going to be able to do their growth if we're looking at a longer or bigger picture scenario. And from there becomes a sense of liberation where we become at peace, if you like. And when we're feeling peaceful, we feel more empowered. We lose that negative thought, negative thinking about a scenario. I'm not sure if I've clarified that properly, but suffice to say, I'm going to summarize. From a metaphysical perspective, lilac will enhance your spiritual awareness and understanding. It supports and improves the connection to the divine, to the source creator, and it leaves the person feeling more empowered. Do feel free to make your own comments. I invite you to. So the primary message for lilac is about holding faith. So if you're repelled or drawn to the colour lilac, it's just a reminder saying, hold faith. Faith is the ability to believe in something that's not necessarily scientifically proven. We don't generally see visible, obvious signs. And so it's a reminder of what faith is as well, okay? There is a balance between holding on for too long and a need to let go of something and finding a new way, okay? Because when we talk about empowerment, it's time to ask yourself some questions about what's happening in your life and what's causing distress. If you've been trying to force something to happen, and we all know that we're all guilty of it, I'm sure, at different times. Force doesn't necessarily mean using physical force or whatever. It can be when we're trying to retain or hold on to a relationship that has passed its use by date, basically. And that can be a relationship, be it with siblings, be it with partners or whatever, but we still keep hoping and trying to make them be something that obviously they're not, or they're not right now. And we're trying to force this change upon them. And now the thing is that when we try and do that, it's a demonstration of a lack of faith. Okay, there's a couple of reasons why that would be ill-advised, because one, it's judgmental. It sends a message that that person's not good enough or whatever. So it's actually conditional love. People don't realize that when they're trying to force another person to change and be what they would like them to be, is that they're attempting to force their vision of who and what a person should be upon that other unwilling recipient often. So it's a matter of accepting who they are and respecting that their choices are their choices and they're on their own path. And this is where faith comes in, like if we're talking about a child or a grandchild and all the rest of it, these other type relationships, it's about respecting they are on their path, holding faith that they have the capacity to learn and change, if it does take them down a unpleasant pathway, shall we say. Of course, you can pray for them, you keep the door open with love, you might put limitations on how far you open that door. That's a whole different scenario, and in fact I might do a video on that at some point in time. So obviously from there, trying to force somebody to do something or be something is a lack of faith. That's the first thing. It's demonstrating that we don't have faith in either the person or the creator, that this person is walking the divine path for them. And the other thing is that when we're focused on this force, we actually block receptivity of our own gifts, okay? Now, it's not always about relationships either. It's if you have got a goal and you're trying to follow all your hunches. This is the positive spin-off of faith, okay? Well, I'd say positive, but these are life challenges as well. And this is what Lilac largely refers to, is you might set yourself a goal. It could be a financial goal. It could be a project, but you feel divinely driven to actually do this. It feels, you've got it in your gut and you drive, you're burning to get this thing into action, shall we say. You're full of passion for this project, and it just seems to meet stonewall after stonewall. And then you start feeling that, well, maybe this is not meant to be. You start to become full of doubt. So this is a case of the reminder saying, hold faith, divine timing. If it's a divinely planned project, divine timing comes into play, and there's going to be more yet to unfold. And it really is that old serenity prayer of knowing when to hold on and when to let go. But within this context, the second context that I'm talking about, where there's this passion and it feels like it's divinely inspired and guided, what this colour is saying is hold faith, hang in there at the divine time. It's all going to come to fruition. And this is the darkness before dawn, because what happens is quite often when people get into that stage, they will actually lose faith and discontinue whatever it's doing. And it's like sitting down at the end of a finish line, really, just on one side of the finish line. And, you could have won the race if you just pushed yourself that little bit further. But once again, I say it's about the divine time, knowing when to hold on and when to let go. And as you strengthen your connection, you'll be able to make healthier decisions. And this is where the colour lilac becomes beneficial, because it actually helps to support developing your intuition and activating it. Now, a lot of people think of intuition simply as being the psychic abilities, and some people might knee-jerk react at that, but I don't want to be a psychic. I don't want to have clairvoyance and this kind of thing. It's not always about having the visions. In fact, not all people that do psychic work actually have well-developed clairs. A lot of them have what is called clear knowing, and that is something anybody can have, and that includes your average person walking down the street. And many people do have it. They've got this very strong gut instinct of knowing. It's that real inner knowing that, yes, they've got to hang on, they've got to push through. So this intuition is a product of faith. And faith can be a response to a belief in a creator God, or sometimes it can just be a case of holding on to, or carry the meaning of holding a greater faith in life, in people in general, or our ability and capacity to discern truths from untruth, or facts from fiction even. It certainly is a colour that would be beneficial to those people wishing to develop their psychic abilities, but at the same time, it's everybody's the driver of their own destiny. If you do not want to develop your psychic abilities, you don't have to. That's up to you. It's your choice. So don't feel that you can't use Lilac because it might increase your psychic abilities. You just put parameters and buffers around it. If you start to feel those abilities opening up and you don't want to, just turn around and put it out to the universe. You're not ready. At the divine time, you will be ready, because eventually it's my belief that we will all have these abilities and they will all be active, and that's when people will stop lying to each other, because we will know when we're being lied to. There'll be no hiding it. That's something I've always believed, actually, but they will develop when you're ready, at the divine time, in the divine way. So if you're one of those people that find yourself being a bit of a negative Nelly, shall we say, or even a doubting Thomas is another word or another saying that we've got, and really struggling to hold faith in the long-term outcomes, shall we say, you can strengthen your faith. This is just an activity. Once again, I try and keep them simple by visualizing yourself bathed in a really beautiful lilac colored light. Now, obviously, with all activities, you have an idea of what it is that you're asking for. So let's say if it's the outcome of a project, you would see that project completed in your mind. And then you rub your third eye or your brow area, that space in between your eyebrows and on your forehead, and you imagine that there's a little lilac coloured magnet in between your eyebrows, and this magnet will attract to you what it is that you desire. And then you simply say the word activate as a pathway to receptivity. Then acknowledge to the universe that as you ask, you receive, so you give thanks, and you know what it is that you're seeking, and that what you are seeking is seeking you, and it's on its way to you under grace in the divine way. So I probably should have put a little bit of emphasis more on the actual sound of the word, which is always difficult because I'm talking into a microphone. Okay, so if you're sitting there in that state and you visualize that magnet that's in between your eyebrows, you would put emphasis on the word. So, and the strength of your convictions. It wouldn't just be a little pathetic activate. It would be with conviction. Activate. Putting a little bit of strength in there. You can even do it a bit stronger than that if you want. It's the intention. And from my perspective, the more strength and conviction that you put into those words, that becomes a strengthening of the desire, shall we say, and raises the vibration. And we will be talking about that kind of thing on the angelic playlist that I'm creating. There's a lot of explanations of how vibration and attraction works, and it is about putting emphasis into the desire to manifest it. Please feel free to make your own comments. We'll chat about that another time. Of course, there's always, what do they say, many roadways or many paths to China is another saying. I'm sure it's not just restricted to Australia, but what it means is, there's more than one way of doing things, different strokes for different folks. So if the other activity is not one that really gels with you, here is another one. And I couldn't find a good image of this, but ideally, if you're sitting at home, sit by a window, you put a lilac coloured sticker or patch or something on the window where it can actually catch the sunlight, and then you sit yourself in the ray that comes through this lilac coloured sun ray. Now, you don't have to do that. That might cost money. That you don't have, but there are other ways of doing things, and it could be that you've got a dream catcher or even crystals, the glass ones, I can't remember what they're called, sun catchers and stuff like that. Basically, you could put yourself in a room with one of those and let the sunbeams soak on you, lilac coloured ones, and as they soak into you, visualize them going into your mind, body and spirit, and then you would state the affirmation: with every breath I take, my faith in myself and the divine is renewed. I am ready to receive the highest love and abundance from the universe. Thanks be. Okay, so that's another one. Probably a lot easier than the magnet for many people, I would imagine. So, my friends, if you've hung in this far, then that means you've actually watched the length of the video. I'd like to say well done. Congratulations to you. Thank you very much. I hope that the information I've given has been useful to you, and I look forward to seeing any comments below. And until then, I'm going to wrap this up because it's been a long one, and wish you a wonderful week. Take care. See you on the next video. Bye-bye for now. Thank you.